Hello, hello, hello. Um, this is Leggy and I's new series on Gen X music, albums, and culture. He's running a little late, so I think what I'm gonna do is do news and tweets and stuff like I normally do until he gets here, because I didn't get to do that this morning. So, and then we're gonna talk about a couple of albums. Leggy picked Insomniac by Green Day, which is the one they did after Dookie in 1995, and I picked Michael Gira's first solo album. It's called Drainland. He's the guy that formed Swans. But first, we'll look at news and stuff. Oh, I have news of my own. Let's see if I pull this off. This came today. It is my ballot. We vote by mail here in Washington State. So over the next few days, this is what a vote by mail ballot looks like, official ballot. So probably over the next few days, I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna. I do a lot of research on the candidates and the different initiatives, and so it takes me like a few days to make my decisions. But once I decide who I'm voting for, I'm going to vote on stream, so I could show you how mail-in voting works and how secure it is. So keep an eye out for that. Let's check the news. Kamala's going around saying what a fascist Trump is, and if we don't stop him, we've had 4 years of him. Quit gaslighting us. We have our own experience to go off of. We can make those kind of decisions for ourselves. There was a terrorist attack on a Turkish aerospace company. Wow, why are they attacking Turkey aerospaces? Um, let's see what else. Oh, and then there's the E. coli breakup. I mean, outbreak at McDonald's. That's going on too. All right, those are the news highlights that I see. Oh, thanks, Jeff. I mean Jess. I haven't done anything with it. In fact, I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow. This is like going long without a haircut. Look, I think I have some tweets too. Let me get to those. Oh, yeah, I want to do a whole stream on this tweet. It's a chart showing. It's a poll showing. They polled Generation Z men like Alpha and my generation, Generation X, and they got all their different political opinions on issues of the day, and they compare the two side by side. So it's interesting to see what my generation of men think about things and what this new, it's not the millennials, but the one after them, the Gen Zs, what they think about certain issues. And but I think I'm gonna do a whole stream on that because it's gonna take more time to go over. Okay, here's some news. We can look at this. Groceries are more affordable now than in 2019. So why are prices still a hot button issue? Here's the chart. Hours of work to afford a week's worth of groceries. 4.5 hours for a week? No way. Oh, 1980. Okay. Wow. But here we are. So 2020, we see the spike. Things drop, the inflation hits, but look what's been happening now. So one, two, three. By about 2023, they've been going down to about 2020 levels, and they were dropping even before that. So this is that COVID bump that it seems like we're recovering from. Although I'm not seeing it at my grocery store, I can tell you that. But they're not getting outrageously high either. So I don't know. It seems like they're about the same. Um, this is interesting. This is an ad from Children's Hospital in Philadelphia for a job. Let's look at the description. Department of Psychiatry at the Perelman School of Medicine. Seek candidates for an assistant professor position. Expertise is required in the specific area of racial and intersectional microaggression prevention programming, race-based bullying, the impact of race ethnicity-based biases on children's development, and community-based participatory do they think that this is happening at this like, well, here's the key term right here, microaggression. It's not the kind of racism, it's not your father's racism, which that would be me now. I'm of the father's generation. It is that invisible racism that they have this microscope that they go around looking for. It's that kind of racism. They look for a whole PhD person for this assistant professorship who specializes is in finding that kind of invisible racism. That is ridiculous. This needs to stop. I'm not sure. You think the government lies about statistics and they don't have like transparency and ways for people to verify? I don't know, IG. I think it's kind of hard to blatantly lie about what statistics you put out. But I'm not even sure that chart was from the government. Let me see what the source for it was. Oh yeah, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, well then you don't trust the government. But I don't know why the Bureau of Labor Statistics would put out fake statistics, which would be easily debunked by other statisticians and economists. You think the government gatekeeps information and nobody else has ways to verify and fact check the information? That seems weird to me. All right, I think I have a few more. Oh yeah, look at this. I just found this picture funny. This is a recent Zoom call. It might remind you of the Panelverse a little bit. Look who's on it. This is Bernie Sanders. This is Mark Hamill. This is Luke Skywalker. They have a cat, a cartoon. This is the future. I'm telling you, we are all going to be merging into this Panelverse type society where we're all interacting with each other in mediums like this. This picture I think says so much about modern life. All right, let's see. Yes, you do think that? Okay, well, then we just think differently about that. All right, I think that's all the tweets I have. Okay, let me maybe start setting up this music conversation while we wait for Leggy. Um, the album he picked was Green Day, Insomniac, and it's the album they did after their famous breakthrough album Dookie, which came out in 1994. 94, 95 were some interesting years for Gen X because you had movies like Pulp Fiction come out, Natural Born Killers, Kids, 12 Monkeys, um, and other like other films in those genres. And I think that was kind of the peak of. I call Gen X the. Not only were we the lost generation, we were the violent generation. We were the very dark generation. Our movies were highly sexualized, brutal, violent. Natural Born Killers is a good representative of the style I'm talking about. That was also the early '90s was also the time of right wing extremism. You had Ruby Ridge, you had Waco, and you had the Oklahoma bombing in 1995. So there was kind of this crescendo of violence, both in art and life, about that time. And the Green Day album, to me, sounded a lot like punk, power punk, pop punk. Um, and of course, punk goes back to the late 1970s. They had a California punk scene, the New York City punk scene, which brought us the Ramones, which is really the first real punk album to my ear, modern punk anyway. And the Green Day album sounded very similar to that. You could see the that it was descended from the same genre. Uh, Punk's antecedents go back to the '60s garage bands. Some people cite Iggy and the Stooges as early proto-punk, but really, I think it's that Ramones album, and then the British punk scene. That so that first like 1966, 1976, 77. 77 is also the year Star Wars came out and Saturday Night Fever, if that gives you more cultural reference points. And so the British punk, you have, of course, Sex Pistols, Clash, you have the Damned, you have the Buzzcocks. It's all a very similar sound, but the Ramones were the first ones to kind of strip music down to those raw elements that made up punk. And punk was a reaction to, artistically, it was a reaction to the technical proficiency needed for classic rock. The kids needed something simple that they could play, not this fancy musicianship that was needed for prog rock and classic rock. And so it kind of opened up music for a whole new generation of kids. And then thematically, um, so I was looking at the lyrics to Insomniac and the lyrics to the Michael Gira album are very similar, and you kind of just like country music is about broken hearts, drinking beer, whatever, like finding a good woman. Punk is usually about two things: how absolutely shitty and rotten the world is, and or how absolutely rotten and shitty you as an individual are. It's just the human at its most wretched, or society at its most bleak. And so those themes come out really strongly in the lyrics of both of these albums, and also in the early punk albums. It was kind of an aggressive outcry against a perceived oppressive system. Now, thinking about my own life and my own love of punk, and that the late '70s, early '80s was kind of the generation of music that made me. Richard Hell and the Voidoids, who was one of the early contributors to punk, he's the one that came up with the Mohawk punk look. Um, his first album was called Blank Generation, and that was the title song from it. And that's kind of the punk generation. In fact, let me quote a few lyrics from that song. It kind of sets the whole punk ethos. How hard is it to find lyrics? All right, here we go. I belong to the blank generation, and I could take it or leave it each time. I belong to the, and then he doesn't sing the word blank because it's just a blank, but I could take it or leave it each time. Um, it's kind of the generation of detachment, and for me, and it's also just youthful energy, anger, and aggression. And for me, I was into the aggression, kind of the violence of the music. It went along with the whole Gen X violence in general, but it was never directed at anything that I found particularly oppressive, because I didn't have a lot of oppression in my life to begin with. I didn't have a lot of authority figures. I had plenty of alternatives if I needed to get away from or escape authority. I had plenty of in Cajun culture. It's very easy to find. We're an anti-authoritarian culture in general, so it's very easy to find spaces with not a lot of authority where you can kind of grow up and be yourself. The school system, I just detached myself from. I wasn't angry about it. As long as I could pull myself out of it and find a better solution for myself, I didn't have to waste a lot of time raging against it. Um, the workforce is the closest analog I have to some kind of system that I feel is hopeless, and I've detached from it. And fortunately, the federal and state governments have these systems for creating your own way to be employed. You could start a I started a LLC, a sole proprietorship LL, I mean a sole owner single owner LLC. They also have what's called sole proprietorship, where you can just kind of, at least here in Washington State, you can kind of just start practicing a business and claim it as income on your taxes without going through the official steps of setting up an LLC. They also have nonprofits. So, in addition to employment, the system has other means to secure a living that they empower you with. So, as long as there's that, as long as there is some alternative, I've never fallen into that anger and hopelessness and despair that I'm at the mercy of a system that I have no power or influence over. But I think that was a lot of the sentiment that drove punk. And if you think about late 70s New York City, the city was on the verge of bankruptcy. These people were living in squalor. There was crime. The physical environment actually did seem that hopeless. Now, the Green Day type of punk is what I call suburban punk. And it was more the California punk anyway, which was not exactly the same setting as the kids in New York City were experiencing. But it also inspired a lot of artistic creativity. They had, and one of that, kind of at the tail end of punk, let's say about a year or so later, they had what was called no wave, which tried to break down rock and punk even more into the most discordant, chaotic elements it could. And Glenn Branca is the figure that emerged from that scene that I think is most relevant to my life and my music. I played a video clip from him the other day, and in fact, we could maybe look at it again. Let me try to pull it up. I don't have to search for it. And so the antecedents of the New York music scene have always been, they go back to 1965, 66 with Andy Warhol and the Velvet Underground, the band that was kind of his house band for the Factory, which was his little bohemian alternative countercultural space. And Lou Reed was the main singer and songwriter for the Velvet Underground, and he was kind of the poet of the streets. A lot of his lyrics were about life on the street. He wrote "Walk on the Wild Side." That's one of his famous songs. And it was all about New York City street life and the different characters and drugs and disillusionment, alienation. And so Lou Reed himself was kind of, because in the 60s, everything was about happy, love, peace, love, hippy dippy. And there were a couple of bands that went an alternative way and wanted to use rock music to explore other themes, darker themes, themes that they felt were more realistic and relevant to their life. And Lou Reed was one of those figures. And if you read his biography, he's definitely what I would call one of our lost boys. He's probably like the grandfather of many of us. And Michael Gira from the Swans comes out of that no wave scene along with Sonic Youth. They were bands that very much kind of developed together. They played together. They were both playing in Glenn Branca's guitar symphonies. He did these really elaborate, distorted guitar symphonies, which are just gorgeous. And some members of Sonic Youth and Swans played in several of them. Um, he would have like 8 or 10 guitarists on stage, electric guitarists and percussionists, making these cascading walls of distorted guitar noise, which was what draws me to Sonic Youth in the first place. They're a noise band more than a punk band. And so that all traces back to Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. And the other musician, I'd say, in the 60s that was kind of taking music in a darker direction or a more raw direction that shows up in some of the punk and gothic music is Jim Morrison and the Doors. They were they were really trying to push the boundaries of music, of art, of the psyche. The Doors name comes from William Blake's quote about if the doors of perception were cleansed, reality. Let me get the exact quote. Let's see. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite, for man has closed himself up till he sees all things through narrow chinks of his cavern. I think that would apply to a lot of things I see in the Panelverse too. I think a lot of us are looking through narrow chinks in our cavern, instead of seeing things as they are and as infinite. And so Michael Gira very much reminds me of. He's kind of the descendant of Jim Morrison to me, but he's working in this Velvet Underground kind of no wave style. Um, and but his voice is very similar to the Doors. He goes to very dark places. Michael Gira is an artist more willing than most to kind of cut open his psyche and just let it bleed. He just lets you see every raw thing about himself. Like the early Swan stuff is very harsh and aggressive, and it's kind of about him tearing himself down to the most basic level he can. It's about what a absolute piece of shit of a human being he is, and humans are in general, and life is, and the world is. It's very bleak. It's very dark. It's very Doors. It's very Lou Reed, and so that's kind of the background context for both of these albums. The no wave genre and the punk genre developed about the same time. Punk first, and then a year or so later, it kind of, some would say devolved. I would say progressed into no wave. I'm going to show this Glenn Branca interview clip real quick, and then I think Leggy's here, and we'll get to the, because I think this kind of captures the punk ethos. Hang on. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of winging it here, so. All right, here it is. I need to just make sure that there's kind of music playing in the background, so I need to make sure that I cut some of that music out. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this little clip, and then I'll bring Leggy on. I've played it before a few times, but it's really one of my favorite introductions, not only to Glenn Branca and the no wave ethos, but kind of the punk scene in general.
I think, as far as the true nature of reality, if we even understood 1/10 of the true nature of reality, I would say that would be an overestimation. We don't know what the fuck we are. We don't know why the fuck we're here. And we think there's some kind of an invisible man in the sky. I mean, we're a bunch of cavemen who are worshiping the sun and fighting amongst each other. There are very few animals that kill their own kind. We're vicious, psychopathological beasts. And the only reason why I even bother to pay the slightest attention to this fucking world is because I love music. I love to write music, and I want people to hear the music. Otherwise, this fucking world is an utter waste of time. It's a disgusting shithole.
You can read any of the lyrics from any of the albums we're talking about today and hear the same thing. And notice also that kind of narrowing a restriction of perception that art is trying to break through. If we only saw the world as it is, if the doors of perception were cleansed, we have people on the Panelverse trying to get us to see reality as it is. That's another kind of cornerstone of this genre of music. Hey, Leggy, what is up?
Yo, what's going on?
Not much. I think I gave enough background to get us started and kind of set the scene for the album. So I'm going to kind of put myself in your hands. This whole project was your idea, and I'm going to just take my cue from you.
Well, I hate to say it, but hands down, the two albums just there's no comparison. Green Day, I think Green Day's album, as far as me, is a much better album. It's an album I enjoy. I can listen to it over and over and over. The Michael Gira one was kind of really hard to get through. Um, the I don't know, maybe it was just in my setup, but for some reason in the house, in the car, no matter where I listen to it.
Did you listen to it with headphones? Kind of
No,
loud? That's the
no,
way to
I
do it.
listened. But like as far as the lyrics go, like it seemed like I don't know, the lyrics kind of seemed to, I don't know, I didn't really it took me a while to really listen and hear the lyrics of the Michael Gira one. You know what I mean? I guess I still don't fully understand it 100%, but here we are. But I'm going to say hands down, I do give this battle, in my opinion, to Green Day.
Oh, I didn't know we were battling.
Yeah.
I might have chosen a different album if we were battling. I thought we were just featuring two albums from the same time period. So next time, the next one we do, I'll make sure it's a battle. I'll give
Well,
you an
yeah, you
album
gotta be. You
worth.
gotta have albums that are comparable, so you can compare the songs. And but I like what we're doing here. I get what you're doing here, but I don't think I don't know if they really mashed up. Like they went in the same level. They were both outside. You know what I mean? As far as that, but I don't know. I mean, what this the Michael Gerard one was released in '95, I believe June 9th. And then you had Green Day, which is October 10th. So, I mean, a couple months apart, not too
Hmm.
far apart. Uh,
Yep, 1985. And that was kind of a peak year for things started to change. Like 90, the later 90s, things start to shift a little bit, kind of away from that. I think that was the peak of the violence and darkness. And I pulled up the lyrics of both albums, and I read over them this morning, and it struck me how similar the themes were. Like they're both talking about what horrible pieces of shit each of them are, and how much the world sucks, and how
yeah,
much
pretty much.
everybody in it sucks. They just do it in different ways and at different
I
levels.
mean,
I
one's
think
talking
Michael
about
tends
coke
to
use,
take it a
one's
little
talking about
darker.
meth use. You know what I mean? I mean,
The what?
one's talking about coke use, one and alcoholism, and one's talking about meth at one point.
Yeah,
And
you're
this-
right. Drugs, that's a good point. Drugs is another enduring theme in the Gen X music and art. A couple of movies that I had in mind in the background as I was listening to them, kind of as soundtracks, was The Crow, Natural Born Killers, Kids a little bit, sometimes 12 Monkeys. So those kind of gave me some images to go along with the music. And those were all movies from about that same time. And of course, what Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day? When did he get started? Like late '80s. They were part of that little punk collective in Berkeley, and when he got successful, they didn't let him. They stopped letting him come to that venue anymore because he sold out. And that's what that song '86 is about. He like
this,
got '86 from the community that he started from because he was.
well, because they
That
kind of
happens
thought
when
they
he
went more
became an oppressor.
mainstream.
Is what happened.
Yeah, they kind of thought he turned his back on his roots of where he came from. So they
Yeah,
kind of.
anytime somebody gets successful and moves themselves out of the category of oppressed, they become oppressor and they become the enemy. Yeah, Gilman Street, right.
I mean, Insomniac. It was right. It was the year after they released the fucking big album Dookie. This one had a more edgier, hardcore sound. But but the thing about Green Day, they kind of almost have all the same beat to them. You know what I mean? The same flow, like it tempo. There we go. They almost kind of have
Yeah,
the same tempo to them. Like
which is
even in the later shit, it kind of is almost same. Like it's kind of predictable. The one
that's common
song,
for
like
punk. Some people say it's one of the limitations of. But telling the different songs apart, it took me a while. And now I think if you played one, I could maybe name the song and where in the sequence it is. Whereas the first few listens, it just sounded like all one song. And really, to me, it was the lyrics that drew me in, and I made the mistake of reading the lyrics later, not initially. So I tried to get into the music for a while without really reading the lyrics. And I think if I had started with the lyrics, it would have pulled
'87.
me into the music better.
That's when him and Mike Durant co-founded Green Days in '87.
So what brought you into Green Day? What was your journey?
I don't know. I mean, I just it was one
You
of the
heard it. You
things.
just saw it on MTV or heard it on the radio.
Yeah, type deal, and it was one of the things I always liked. Me, it's always about beat. If you can move your head, tap your foot to it, type
Mm.
deal. Like you know what I mean? Like I like the beat a lot more than I do necessarily the lyrics. But
And I was surprised to see that it was only a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer. Not much more
But
than
really,
that, and they managed to get a lot of sound out of that.
but for some reason, American Idiot. That's the album that brought me to Green Day when they released American Idiot.
And which one was that? Was that after Insomniac?
Yeah, that was fucking
Let's see.
2003,
Oh, that was mid.
2004.
Yeah, the mid aughts. But you do you think Insomniac's the better album
What, out of these two or out of their albums?
out of their albums, out of Green Day?
I don't know if it's their best album, but I mean, I don't know. It's not the best album, but it's not the worst album. I don't know. It's
Oh,
up there.
what led you to pick it?
Mid 90s, I figured it'd be a good turning point because, as I said, that's the time when I was becoming aware. Because, I mean, that's the year, that's the year I can remember my dad going, "Oh boy, Tyson's out of jail, man. He's fighting." Like, you know what I mean? Because 95, he got released from jail. He had his first fight back. Fucking, it only lasted 86 seconds to fight against some fucking dude, some bum. You know what I mean? Like, fucking. It just, my dad was pumped though. You know what I mean? He
Oh,
goes,
your dad was punk?
no, my dad was pumped when Tyson
Oh,
got out. You know
pumped.
what I mean? Because he was like somebody to actually bet money on. You know, he was happy. I mean, there's a lot of shit. I mean,
And you're right. I did notice a lot of it was a lot of methamphetamine. They described some of the people you might see on the streets today. There's even a line about picking scabs off their
yep,
face.
yep. That's punk stink breath.
Yeah, Gink Stick Breath,
I mean,
which
beak stink breath. Sorry,
that was one of their hits too. They
I
had a
was reading
video to
something.
it.
Sorry, my bad.
And then the Michael Gira album was more alcohol centered. And the very first song opens with it's really a shattering conversation that his collaborator Jarbo, I don't know what exactly their relationship was, kind of girlfriend, but kind of collaborator. It's a conversation she recorded when she was confronting him about his alcoholism and just an absolute asshole he was to her the whole time that she's trying to have this conversation. And he wove it into this song, and it's all about his drinking and his alcoholism. And then at the end, the song that closes the album is also about, or he makes references to drinking and alcohol. So I think if you're in 12 steps or AA or an alcoholic, this album might have something to say to you because it's kind of his struggle with alcohol too, expressed in music. And that's not the whole album, but that's one of the things that I think you could take away from the album. Um, Show some pity for the weak of will because when we're drinking, we can never be filled. Show some understanding for the lonely fool because when I'm drinking, I'm out of control. Though my body was strong, I was self deluded, confident, and blind.
Confident and blind, he goes.
Which was
Confident.
actually a song from a 1990 album that he did, which I think is one of their best, called "White Light from the Mouth of Infinity." But they didn't release it on that album; they held it for this one instead for some reason, and I think it fit with the theme better. But it's a beautiful song, and he did it with Bill Rieflin, who was a percussionist that worked with Ministry a lot. So it was him and this guy from Ministry, kind of doing the music, and then he was doing the lyrics and the melodies. And then another thing we were going to try to do was kind of set it into the context of the time. So I brought up the right wing extremism and the actual violence that was happening in society. Um, at the same time, we were watching it on our screens and listening to it in our headphones. I think 2020, when I saw the unrest here in Seattle and the George Floyd stuff, that was the first time since the early '90s that I'm like, wow, society is getting really violent, or society is really violent.
Oh
I
yeah, I
didn't
mean
really
there was a
live with
lot
a
of
strong
shit
sense of violence
in
since that time
'95. Man,
period.
you had all kinds of shit that happened in '95. I mean, let's just run down here. Let's just run down this here list of shit that's happened in '95. All right. Let's see. Starting January 1st of '95, you had British serial killer Fred West, who was hanging in his cell. Uh,
I don't remember that one.
um, the day after they discovered a galaxy.
Oh, was that the Galileo spacecraft?
That was a Keck, Keck, Tech, Keck telescope in Hawaii.
That was also the like in '94, the Republicans had just won Congress, and
Uh,
that was Newt Gingrich and the contract with America too
in
that just
'95,
started.
The Norway scientist almost started a nuclear war with Russia and the United States because they launched a rocket and Russia interpreted it as a missile launched from the United
Wait,
States.
what month was this?
That was January 25th.
Hey, can you put the link you're going off of? Because Wikipedia doesn't have that one. You might
Uh,
maybe have a more comprehensive
I
list.
cannot. I
Oh,
cannot because I'm
what site are you on? What can I Google?
historic newspaper. All right, so this is. I'll give you the link. It's historic uh, dash newspapers.
Ah, I found it. Complete 1995 events. OJ too. I remember that.
Yep.
That was
See that
'94,
I
summer of
remember. That's like
'94.
the first major trial like I can remember, like murder, major media thing I can remember as a kid is
And
OJ.
then, like, I think a few years before that was the Rodney King riots
Because
too.
it was so bad. Yeah, and Rodney King I think was what 91, 92, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Let's see here.
Yeah, you're Rand. I think this is closer to the truth. I think that's just a part of being human. And our generation used art and music to tap into that, and it was happening in the society all around us at the same time. And we're just not. Gen X was just desensitized to violence. We're not squeamish about it. We
Well,
weren't.
just
I
to
hate to
let
say
people
it, but we
know,
weren't snowflakes. You couldn't be Gen X and be a snowflake.
February 6th, 1995. Wait, no, February 9th. Excuse me, February 9th, 1995. Bernard A. Harris Jr. become the first black man to walk in space.
Right. Look at all the racial progress we were making back then.
Well, also in '95, Mississippi was the last state to ratify the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. So technically until '95, in Mississippi, it was technically legal.
It was still on the books,
It was
like
still
the
on the books.
sodomy laws that
Yeah.
were still on the
Yeah.
books for a while. Yeah, and again, look at all the racial progress Gen X gave you guys. We gave you color blindness. We got rid of slavery.
Let's see.
Everything. Why are y'all fucking that up with all this neo-racism woke
They
bullshit?
caught the famous hacker Kevin Mitnick for wire fraud and breaking into some of the most secure computer systems at the time. Okay, first major violent event was February 17th. Colin Ferguson, who opened fire on Long Island Railroad train in '93, oh no, that's when he was convicted of it. He
Oh, in
received
'93 was when he
yeah
fired.
6 counts
The
of
big
murder.
one was that the Oklahoma bombing was Timothy McVeigh.
Well, now hold on. There was well, you had the Tokyo. I believe you're the
Oh yeah, the
The
sarin gas
Tokyo.
attack. I
Yeah.
remember that one. It was that cult. That, see, we had we had all kind of crazy, real shit happen in our life. We didn't need the panelverse. Spike, were you were around for the King riots? They had y'all under lockdown. I remember Elastica.
Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson got married that year.
Oh, and that's also when Selena was March 31st.
Yeah.
Selena,
Yeah. Yeah. The March 20th, the Doomsday Cult. That was when they did the subway.
and then
Exit.
April 19th was the bombing. And that came out of nowhere. Nobody had a clue, and all of a sudden we were seeing it on the news.
Well,
Like it was a normal day, and the next thing you know, you turn your TV and this building got bombed in Oklahoma by domestic terrorists.
listen, it's funny though. Lo and behold, old Papa Joe, Uncle Joe, Sleepy Joe, before the Oklahoma City bombing, in response to the original Trade Center bombing, he had passed he was trying to pass a anti-terrorism bill before this, right? And then and then it kind of got to the wayside, and then only after then was there another push for it, and then until it took till 96, and it was Bob Dole that made the push for it, not fucking Biden. Just throwing that out there. So Biden's been trying to do shit for a long time, and and none of his
Did
shit.
they ever get it
Nobody's ever thought
passed?
it was a good idea. What?
Did they get it passed?
Yeah, 96.
Oh, this is interesting. In April 30th, the government funding for the National Science Foundation Network ended, which made the internet a privatized system at that point. That was the
Yeah.
government funding for.
And then I feel like by the end of that year, you had Match.com, which was the first and most popular dating site of all time. And then I think you had eBay, which the very first item sold on eBay was a broken laser pointer.
Oh, that's this is interesting. This FSNet thing because the government was funding research into the internet for a while, and then they stopped in '95, and that's when the
Well,
private companies were
essentially,
able
what
to
the
come
internet
in.
was, it was a way for all the systems to communicate with one another.
Yeah,
It was local networks, is what it was, and then they had the line that connected the other networks as long as you were within the same network and you could read. You know what I mean? Kind of passcodes and shit. It allowed you to do it because I mean, people were building servers and shit like that for corporations for a long time, networks for a long time before that. Because I mean, Wall Street. You think about Wall Street in the '80s. That's when they first started having computers and shit.
but this is when the government pulled out, and so it
Yeah,
became
I know,
strictly
but I'm
private
just
from
saying
that
though.
point on.
But I'm just saying it was very limited with the with what it was. It wasn't like every person, Tom, Dick, and Harry. It was pretty much you had to have a reason to be on the to be on the internet. And then once they were like, "Oh well, it's now open to the public," that's when people realized all the potential of it, the mass communication, the way it transferred. 95 really is a pivotal year as far as the way we changed the way we communicate with each
Windows
other.
95,
Yep, 95. I mean, that who would have thought the recycle bin and all that? That would have been like a fucking feature. People were like, "Yeah." Or task bars and shit like that there. Like, just things we take for granted today. Like, man, I can remember having Windows 3.111. Like, that, I do believe that was the Windows system
before
before 9.
95.
Yeah. Or 4.11, whatever it was, yeah. As I told you, I can remember having one of the Apple computers where you needed the big fucking 5x7 fucking true floppy disk.
Yeah, that's the kind we used to use
Yeah,
before
for
they
every
switched
fucking
to
program.
the little
You want to
three
type?
quarters.
You want to type? Have a typing program? Boom. Like,
In college, I did my papers. I had a K Pro, and I did my papers, and you would store them on those big floppies. And for some of the
95.
science classes, you'd have to purchase floppies as part of your school supplies, because when you do your labs, you would download the data onto the big floppies.
Let's see here.
And another thing that happened, it was when Christopher Reeve
Yeah,
got
that's what I was about ready
paralyzed.
to say. That's funny. That's exactly what I was about ready to say. Let's
I
see.
didn't know this, but do you guys want to take a stab at the largest film premiere in history, drawing crowds of 100,000? I'll give you a hint. It was a Disney movie.
And it come out in 95, so.
Yeah, it was Pocahontas. And the OJ trial. They also closed part of Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House for a while in response to the Oklahoma bombing. So I guess we were feeling less safe back then. Let's see what else. The Bosnian War was going on.
95, Bill Gates is officially
The
declared
richest man in the
rich.
world. He became the
Yep.
richest man in the world in 95. 12.9 billion. And that was before, like, Windows 95 was like one of the that was so primitive. That was before Windows and Microsoft even really took off, and he was
No
already the
shit.
richest man in the
I
world.
remember that game. I was at that game.
Which one?
January 29th. The Panthers and Jaguars. I was at that game. I was at that game.
Where was it played?
The brand new Panther Stadium.
Oh,
I believe. I believe that was the one. You see, my uncle worked for the guy, one of the owners of the fucking, like, that had ownership stake into the team. So he got all the employees season tickets that first year. My uncle, and they had up to four tickets. So I got to go. That was pretty cool. I believe it was the Jaguars. I believe that's the same game.
wow. That's You were part of history. They had some wildfires in New York, the worst in 80 years. So
Oh yeah.
wildfires were even happening back then.
Hey, can you do a poll? Can you do a poll, Jeff?
Yeah, what I put on it.
All right. Let's do this. What song was 95's song of the year?
Um,
And we'll do the three songs. I
okay,
know
hang
I
on.
know what it is. So we'll do three songs. We'll do
I think I know it already without even typing it.
hold on. Let's see here. We'll do the Green Day, the Punk Stink Breath. I mean fucking why do I keep saying punk? Jesus
Geek
Christ.
stink breath.
Geek Stink Breath. Yeah. Uh
Okay,
Alanis Morissette. The fuck was the song?
ironic.
Maybe. Or Coolio's Gangster's Paradise. Let's see how many people guess it.
I think they're all gonna guess it.
Okay. We also got, that's the year we got Courtney Love. That
No,
so
no, you got your timeline wrong. Thick Skull. Napster didn't come till later. Nobody had Napster back then.
Napster was what, like 99, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was using it in like
97?
late 2000s, 2001.
Let's see, Napster.
I mean, it might have been around then, but people didn't even weren't even networked. That was like I don't even think AOL was around by then. When did Napster start? 1999.
Yeah.
And when did AOL come out?
Oh Jesus, AOL come out fucking forever ago. You had that a big Amtrak derailment. I mean, these are just events that happened. I mean, that made the papers. Then you had like Brad Pitt in '95 was voted sexiest man alive. Uh,
He was in 12 Monkeys. Oh, that's when Seven came out, too. That's another violent Gen X movie. And October 3rd, O.J. Simpson found not guilty. If the glove do not fit, you know what you have to do. Well, it didn't. December 96 was when they went to the monthly pricing, and that's when most people started adopting it. And so I had friends that had AOL earlier, but not very many. Maybe in LA, because LA might be, y'all might adopt things earlier there. They had that Amtrak derailment, and it was sabotage, but they never found who did it. And they had the Million Man March. I remember that. The assassination of Yitzhak Rabin.
oh yeah, Netscape. Netscape was like the original fucking big.
The big one, it seems like, was, well, they had the Oklahoma bombing, but then geopolitically, it was the Bosnian War,
Yeah, you're
Operation
right.
Storm, and the O.J. Simpson trial. Those were like the big events of that time period. Let's see who got these answers right. I'll keep it going a little while longer.
Here we what? Keep what going?
Yes, it was in Arizona, right? And it was sabotage. They found something on the tracks, and they found some notes that somebody left saying they did it, but they never found the person.
All right. So, hey Jeff, uh, type in this kff.org/report section /survey of Americans on
Hang on, hang,
race.
you
Oh,
hang on. My keyboard is janky and it's not typing all the letters.
I wish I could.
kf.org slash.
Yeah, hold on. Let me type. I'll type it in the back.
All right.
No, that's not what I wanted to do, you fucker.
Spike, are you serious? Wow. That is.
What?
I didn't
What
even know
Spike
they
said?
had that in the 80s.
Report.
Okay, let's see. Okay, the answer to the poll was. I'm going to give my guess. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That video was everywhere.
Oh yeah. That's one of the first songs I can really remember too, like of that genre. So I said 95 was the year, like, of me, I guess, quote unquote, use a new term. I woke.
Do you have Oh, you could type in that thing in.
What? No, do I have what?
I was gonna say ask if you had anything else to say about the albums, cause we can open up the panel.
Well, open up the panel. I mean, we still talk about the albums and talk about it. But I mean, overall, though, it was hard for me to truly rate them song by song because there was nothing to, you know what I mean? There was nothing to really compare. They weren't a
I
compare.
think
Like,
doing a
they were
song
good
by song is
albums
gonna
in
be
their
hard
respects.
because just when we pick different albums like that, they're not always gonna map onto each other.
Well, no, but I don't know. There was a better.
I thought we were just taking albums from that year and using it as a way to talk about music and Gen X culture, but now that I know we're battling, I'll pick a different one next time. Which one do you want to do? That Chili Peppers one?
Uh, I don't know. I think we might do some hair metal, possibly.
Are we going back to the 80s?
Yeah, we could do some
I
hair
could
metal.
definitely beat you there. I'm
I
an
don't
80s
know.
baby. Bring on your best hair metal album. I will find something to beat it with. Okay, Surveys of America's Own Race, 2015.
Did it pop up? So it popped up for you?
This is what perceptions on how black people or Hispanic people are doing compared to the average white person
Yeah. All right.
on
So yeah. Oh, sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
income, education, and housing. Those are the three domains that they measure.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one here says changes in time of views of how average African American or Hispanic American is faring compared to the average white person on income, education, and housing. Percentage who say the average African American is worse off than the average white person in terms of each of the following: income. Uh, in '95, they said 56% of. Okay, in '95, uh, percentage who say each.
Wait, is it 56% of white people say that? Okay, this is all about black people. This is how different groups view how well black people are doing. In 95, 50%, 56% of white people thought that black people were worse off than the average white person. That number drops to 50% in 2015.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
perception was already starting to change. Black people themselves, 84% of black people thought they were worse off than the average white person. In 2015, it drops to 71%. Do you see the progress we were making?
Or is it white people? 56% of white people feel like they're worse off than the average white
No, it
person.
says percent who say that the average African American is worse off than the white person in
Okay.
terms of each of the following.
Okay, I got
And
you.
they had Hispanics in there somewhere, but so in
Well, I think
education,
I think it's to Hispanic American. I think it's together in
it's
that.
interesting because education goes up. 41% of white people, which is less than half, think that African Americans are worse off. So white people thought that black people were doing pretty okay education
In
wise
'95, but
in
it's been
95 and a little less than that in 2015. Thought there might be a problem.
yeah, a
And then
little less than
black
half.
people, 68% said they were worse off educationally, and that drops to 59% in
So white
2015.
people think there's a problem where so
Right,
more
not even the
white
black
people.
people think
So
that
what
there's a
more
problem.
white people feel there's an issue, but less black people feel there's an
Yeah,
issue.
that's what it looks
According
like.
according to this survey that we're using, and I'm sure Jeff is smart enough to cite the source at some point.
Oh, I dropped it in the link. It's
Okay.
kff.org. And then
Okay.
for housing, 52% of whites thought black people had it worse. That drops to 50% 20 years later. 74% of black people drops to 65%. So all of that within the 20 years between 95 and 2015, subjectively, perceptually, these groups all thought they were making progress, except for white people thinking that black people had it a little worse educationally. Hispanics, now this is white and Hispanics, but the same metric. 64% of people, white people, thought Hispanics were doing worse income wise, drops to 56%. 74% of Hispanics drops to 51%. Education, now this is different. Education, 52% of whites thought they were worse off, drops to 44%. It went up for the black people, but it dropped significantly for the Hispanic people, according to
Now,
whites.
it does say this, though. It says compared to 95. Of course, this is a survey from 10 years ago, though, so 9 years ago, too.
Right. So it's what happened between 2015 and now.
Yeah, I guess
2025,
that's
they need
what
to
we
do
were.
another one. And I can pretty much guess it's been ideology and propaganda.
Because, I mean, but although in 15 it said that, well, us white people, we feel that race should be considered in advancement decisions compared up from so it went to 17% in 15 up from 12 in 95. So they're
Where you?
saying in 95 that at the point that people seen race as less of an issue than today.
Oh, I see. There's additional sections. I'm not looking at.
But yeah, black people say that it's 20% down from 28 or in Hispanic. I just seen this and I thought that was a pretty cool little comparison of how it says the difference. So
Now, this they are saying that racial tensions have increased. They're saying that the racial groups have it better, that they've improved, but that the tensions between the races have
well, that's
increased.
the issue. It's tension. It's not even. It's not even that. It's just tension. And I think it's generational
So the
discrimination.
material conditions improve. They even admit that subjectively, there's a sense that the material conditions have improved, but the interpersonal tensions have gotten worse. Oh, not lost. Are you cribbing that from some weird owl? Wait. Oh, did he? Did we lose
Yeah,
him?
yeah. Coolio died.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought he was still driving around his little convertible. I'm always gonna think that. Okay. Well, if anybody wants to come up and join the conversation, it's open panel. We're talking music, all things Gen X, movies, culture, tensions between races. And then Leggy's gonna let me know what hair metal band he's forced me to listen to hair metal, and B, I need to come up with an album to beat
Well,
it.
I think I'm gonna go with. It's probably gonna be a Quiet Riot album. Not
Oh,
gonna
I
lie.
like. You want to do the one with what was the name of it? Mama, we're all crazy.
Uh, I don't know yet.
I could
I'm
listen to
not.
that
I'm
one.
not sure. It might be Motley Crue. Not Motley Crue, but
Metal Health,
so yeah. That's well. Yeah, but
1983. Come on, feel the noise.
yeah. I mean, you got that one. I could do Twisted Sister.
That's
Uh,
another one. Although they only had a few good songs.
well, it's true, but
You do Van
I
Halen,
mean, you got Van Halen, and you got
1984. That would be a hard. That was one of the best albums of that type. I think that's one of the best rock albums of the 80s. That one would be hard to beat. In fact, that might have been an album I picked to try to beat Quiet Riot.
uh
Well, you don't have to choose today. You can let me know.
yeah.
But
We'll figure it out.
I'm gonna make the case since we're battling. I'm gonna make the case for my album today. Then I think mine had more variety. and I think the themes were a little deeper, like in depth.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably had more depth.
And the sound, like there was more diversity of sound. It was a lot more textured and ambient
It
and
was, but I
and
don't know. I
less
just
just straightforward melody and rhythm. So if you really want to get like Michael Giron Swans is my favorite. I call him my favorite satanic band. Not that he's actually a Satanist, but that's the music that for me reflects the themes and the mood and the sound of Satanism, probably better than any other group. And so if you really want to get into that dark, primitive uh, area of the psyche, I think he's that album's a better album to take you there. If you just want to get your adrenaline pumping, you need something to drive to, put on the Green Day. But if you really want to take a journey into darkness, I would say put on the
well,
Michael Gira
that's it.
album.
One's a much darker album than the other.
Yeah, but that's his brand. Like his brand has always been how dark can I go? Because he's kind of carrying on from Jim Morrison and Lou Reed. Queensryche. Okay. Zat, you want to come up and join? You like music, and I invited Mike too.
I mean, let's just think. I mean, we.
I can beat any album you throw at me. I'm confident. I didn't realize we were doing a battle. That's all.
Well,
Let me see what I would have picked if we were. Because I originally chosen Sonic Youth's Washing Machine, but that's it's a good album, but it's not from their best period. So let's see, 1995. What do we have? Swans also put out an album that year too. Um, I might throw in Steve Roach's Kiva. It's an ambient album. It's a he and some friends went and recorded these actual ceremonies from native tribes. They recorded a peyote ceremony, an ayahuasca ceremony, and a Plains Indian drumming ceremony, and then they wove it into these ambient pieces using the recordings as the basis, and they really transformed them into something. It was our mushroom music. We would go out in the woods and play
no,
this
no,
album.
no. I got it. I dare you to come. I'm gonna do "Appetite for Destruction" by Guns N' Roses because I know that album very,
Is that
very fucking well.
1987?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you put yourself against some. That was like a peak year. You're putting yourself against
But
so. That's when the
I do
Pixies came
believe,
out.
though, "Appetite of Destruction" is considered one of the best albums of
Sonic
all
Youth's
time.
sister, Dinosaur Jr.'s first real album, if you don't count their first album.
We're gonna do it.
Um, that's where the Smiths did their best album. You are asking for yes. That's a competition I can accept. Bring it on. That's a good out. That's a good one to pick. I remember Guns N' Roses.
I mean, it's a very mainstream that everybody
And I
knows.
haven't
That's
listened
why
to
I'm
them in a
picking
while.
it.
I would love. The Cure came out. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me came out that year. Double
Well, see,
album.
I figure if we keep it simple and go with mainstream ones for now, want albums that people are more likely to know or want to listen to, then we can dive into the deep cuts. You know what I mean? Eventually.
Whew, this is my problem's going to be choosing. We have two Pixies albums. We have one of Sonic Youth. That's when Sonic Youth really started to get good. You have The Cure at one of their best. The Smiths' best album. The only Smiths album I still listen to. Dead Can Dance started to take off. REM. Sugar Cubes came out. Sinead O'Connor. Like I said, Dinosaur Jr., The Church. I'm leaning toward the Cure album. That one was huge.
So
It's a double
just
album though.
sidebar from our conversation. So you know how I had my saga with my crazy the crazy ex neighbor, right? Who
The
knows
cat lady, the egg
the
lady.
egg lady? Well, crazy's whatever, right? So it really the fact that I know she stole this old lady's identity, it's really stuck in my call that nobody will fucking do anything. You know what I mean? Like it really fucking just grinds my fucking gears. A real pet fucking peeve of mine, right? So this woman's moved out, and there's a fucking bill from Capital One that's been in because we got a new mailman, and fucking dumb fuck can't distinguish between the two between A and B, and apparently he doesn't understand that there's two addresses. He just puts all the mail in one box.
Oh.
So like, there's been this one fucking letter that I told the guy he needs to take back that the woman don't live there, and they delivered it anyways with a sticker. Does this person live here? And I keep telling him take it back, leaving the fucking thing up. Nope, don't take it. Like what the fuck? So finally, I get the shits of it. I called Capital One today, right? And I was like, listen, I know for a fact this woman's committing fraud, blah, 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 blah. Well, sir, you need the social security number. Ma'am, I don't have the social security number. That would be really fucking odd if I could tell you the social security number. What I'm trying to tell you is, this woman, I'm pretty sure is probably fucking dead or is in a nursing home out of her fucking mind somewheres. I go, calm the fuck on. So long story short, folks, is you can steal somebody's identity, and technically, as long as you're not defaulting, I mean, she has defaulted on the Capital One shit. I'm positive of it. Because, the bills are very thick. The one that says, hey, your shit's been sold off, they come in very thin envelopes. You know what I mean? So, when that come in the mail today. So I'm just assuming that's one of them, hey, either pay up or this is what fucking happening, bitch. So, like, anyways, I called, and long story short is, still, unless you call yourself physically to the credit card company, and or you can prove somehow that this person's dead, and someone's committing fraud, it doesn't matter. So you can steal anybody's identity as long as the person you
You
steal
called
doesn't still live.
Capital One?
Yeah,
Did you
I
ask for the
called.
fraud department?
Yeah, and they told me they have to be able to look up the profile. I go, holy fuck! I'm telling you, what the fucking person's name is and the fucking address. Like, come on. Like, there's never been. I've lived here for 6 fucking years. This woman has never, ever, ever, ever fucking lived here. And I seen this woman's ID and social security number on my fucking neighbor's fucking phone. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm very alert. Yeah.
This sounds like a weird story.
Dude, I'm dead
Why are
serious. This
you
is what I
involving
tried to.
yourself in this?
Because it just jerks my fucking chain. Like, I really feel like this woman's a fucking Black Widow. Like, you get what I'm saying? I feel like she preys on elderly fucking people, steals their shit, gets credit cards in their name,
We'll call
and
the
fucking.
police.
The police, they're not committing a crime. That's what I'm trying to say. The police say they are not committing a crime unless.
Identity theft is a crime.
But the only way the only way it's a crime is if, like, say, I open up a credit card in your name, right? That that lots can't fucking do a thing about it. Even if they watch me fucking do it, right?
Yes, they can. I used to work
No,
in credit card. That's definitely
no,
fraud.
no, no. I'm telling you, the only way you can do it, according to the law enforcement, is the person has either Capital One has to prosecute them, right?
Oh, right. The person
And
whose identity's being. That's why I'm wondering why you're
I'm saying,
involved. You're just a third party. Like, what
because I know what's
standing?
happening. The scam's
You
happening.
don't know what's happening. You think you know what's happening. And
But I do
you're
know
trying
what's
to get
happening.
somebody to investigate, but
No,
you
no.
don't have any
I
standing.
I know for Jeff, Jeff, I know for a fact. Like, I'm not stupid. Like, you don't fucking get a credit card in some random fucking woman's name. Go, oh, well, that's weird. How did that get here? And
Yeah,
then
but
proceed
you
to
don't
show.
know the specifics of why that credit cards go to that house. You're
What do
making a
you
lot of
mean? I don't know.
assumptions.
Assumptions to
Are
play it
you
off of,
opening her
and then
mail to
show
see
me the
that she's
woman's
getting these credit
ID and
cards?
social security number on her phone. Like, you know what I mean? Like a picture of each of them on her phone. Like, I'm telling you. Like, this woman's 93, 94 years old. She's not opening up a random fucking credit card and having it sent here, and her ID and social security card's not just randomly getting put into the fucking. And it's not like it's a new photo because she had to, like, go back through and fucking scroll through all of her
I
photos.
still don't understand what's happening. You share a mailbox with your neighbor and you're opening her mail and noticing
No,
what credit
no,
card she's
no,
getting?
no, no. All right, listen. All right, crazy bitch. When she first moved here, we become me and the wife kind of become friends with her before she went crazy in the head. All right, we have two separate mailboxes, just for the record, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyways, she was new here. She needed to go to the next town over, and she needed to know where something was, like the doctor's office or I don't know, something. So I was like, all right, I gotta go to the grocery store anyways. While the wife's at work, I go, I'll just take you out that way. Go. Got back, pulled up to the mailbox, right? I checked my mail. She checked her mail, right? Handed her her mail, right? She opens it up and her first words out of her mouth was, well, that's weird. This is, I don't know why I got this woman, and shows me, proceeds to get on her phone, go to her photos, scroll through. She goes, hold on a second, scrolls through, shows me the license of the woman, a Florida license from St. Petersburg, Florida, right? And then scrolls too far, the next photo over, and it's the woman's social security number, right? This woman was supposedly broke. Supposedly broke. Middle of winter, supposedly broke, had no fucking money at all. Right? She supposedly borrowed $100 from a friend, right? Supposedly. Borrowed $100 from a friend. This $100, she filled her car, which took $65, all right? Took $65. She bought herself 4 packs of cigarettes. They're American Spirit cigarettes. In the state of Maine, they're just shy of $15 a pack. All right? Some places, I think they're actually over $15 a pack, but the store she bought them at, they're 14 and some change. Okay? She bought 4 packs of them. That's $60 right there. That's $122 worth of money just between that. Then she bought me 2 packs of cigarettes, and I smoked Camel Blues, and them are $10, a little over $10 a pack. So that's 140 something fucking dollars that she had. Plus, she bought uh a pint of booze. She bought uh a a 2 liter bottle of soda, uh snacks, and all this shit. But she supposedly was broke and had to borrow $100. But it was right after she got the credit card.
Why would
Like
she
literally
show
right
you
after.
the lady's social? If she was doing crime, why would she show
Because
you that it's
people
not
are
her card?
fucking woo woo. Like, dude, this woman started shit. Like, I feel like, so, like, I feel like 'cause she moved in, right? And, like, she would come over and she'd be like, hey, I'll give you a few dollars if you help me hang this up. Hey, I'll give you, hey, I'll smoke some pot with you. I'll smoke a joint with you if you'll help me. And I think she caught feelings. Like, you know what I mean? I think it was one of them weird attraction type deals. Like, I feel like she wind up feeling some sort of way for me and it wasn't reciprocated. And I feel like that's what made her go, woo woo, to be honest with you. Like, because my wife started to pick up signs. Like, she was like, I really don't think you should help her out anymore. She goes, she just something to she goes, I don't like some of the way she looks at, and I was me not paying attention, not looking at the woman the same way. I'm like, oh, you're just fucking crazy. I go, I'm ugly. I go, I'm missing a fucking tooth. I go, she ain't, I go, she's fucking in her 50s. I go, she ain't into me. I go, don't worry about it. But then I said, then she started all this crazy bullshit. And it was never against me. It was always against my wife. Like, you get my point? Like,
Not
she would
this
call
this.
like she would call the cops and be on my wife. Never against me. She'd call the landlord. It'd be a report on my wife. I'm like, what the fuck? Like
So
she
you
called.
think she used this credit card that she showed you that she said, "Oh, look, why am I getting this credit card? It's not mine. Here, I can prove
Yes,
it."
dude.
Here,
Like
and you
one
think
hundred
she's
percent,
using this credit? You have
dude.
no. Did you see receipts from this credit card? Or you
Well,
just know she came into money
so
and you're
listen.
assuming it's from
So
this
so
credit card?
fast forward to today when I called Capital One, right? I admitted it. This fucking woman does not live here. There's never been a Marilyn Crane that lives at my address. I almost caught myself, almost doxed myself. I caught myself. Anyways, there's never been a woman named Marilyn D. Crane that's ever lived in Jonesport at my address. Never. There's not even a woman by that name in this town. Trust me, I've asked everybody. Hey, do you know this woman? Does she have any
Okay, but
ties
that
to?
doesn't mean anything.
Just finally, finally, I opened it. I opened it.
You
Right?
opened what?
I opened the fucking thing, right?
Which
Today.
thing?
The thing from Capital One, right? It says, Dear Marilyn D. Crane, your account has been sold off for lack of payment in the last 90 days, right? A balance of $1,010.11 or whatever cents, right? Like, like even when I call Capital One, like I'm like, listen,
So first of all, you opened somebody else's mail. That's illegal.
well, I understand that, but I did it to get the Capital One number because like I figured if I had the
You,
account number, knowing that like I know for a fact, Jeff, like as sure as I'm sitting here, I swear on my life, your life, my kid's life, this fucking woman, without a doubt, shadow of a doubt, has committed fraud. Like you know what I
you
mean,
don't
dude?
know
She's lived,
that though,
dude,
other
since
than vibes.
'97, dude, since '97, right? She has lived in fucking over 40 places since 1997. Over 40 places.
Yeah, but you don't know her. You don't know the details of her story.
Dude.
I've
She
moved
has,
around a lot too. I've
dude,
never committed fraud.
oh, okay. But dude, she has 5 different fucking last names. Five. Dude, when mail comes in the mailbox, as I said, it gets mixed up, dude. Like, there's always shit.
None of
Like,
that is what beyond a
dude,
shadow of a doubt proof that
dude,
she's committing fraud. This
dude,
is you connecting
what do you
dots.
mean? Dude, this is how you, I've seen cases on, like, real
No,
fucking
they
court
do more
cases made
thorough
on less.
investigations than this. They would
No,
pull
dude, I'm
accounts and all
telling
that
you,
other stuff.
if
You're
you
just
look at,
going by what you
no.
observe.
Somebody out there in the vast space of YouTube, if you know or knew the family or know Marilyn D. Crane from St. Petersburg, Florida, please, somebody reach out and be like, hey, do you know a Shannon Ceriso?
Leggy, this is why are you involved in this?
Because she fucked with me, dude, and my fucking family. And it just
And so
irked
now
my
you're.
chain. Because I
How does she
know she's
fuck with you
committing
over the
crime.
eggs?
Like,
And
I'm
now you're
not
trying to
lying.
make a case against her
I'm
using all
not
this.
lying. Like, Jeff, like, I'm not lying. I'm as serious as can be on this. Like
I
100%.
believe you think this, but I don't
No,
think
there's
it's
no
based on
thinking.
evidence. I think
There,
it's based
the
on your
evidence
brain
speaks
telling
for.
yourself a
Okay,
story about
why
this
else
thing.
would the woman have a picture of this poor lady's fucking
Why would
ID
she
and
show
social
it to you if she was doing fraud? Like that's the last thing a crook would do is show you the
because
evidence
this
that they're
woman's
doing
not
fraud.
all fucking there in the head. That's what I'm trying to say. I think she felt comfortable, and I think in her head she felt some type of fucking way. Like she didn't mean to show me the social security card. Like when as soon as that card come up, she fucking, dude, she took her phone and flipped it down just as quick as can be. Like
That
I'm
none of
not even
that's
joking.
evidence.
Dude, what do you mean? How is
None
it?
of that's evidence. That's
If
you
you
telling
have
yourself a story about what things you noticed.
Dude,
That's
I
not
know for a
evidence.
fact she used the credit card in the fucking store. Like, you
You
know what
have
I'm?
yourself
No,
convinced
no.
that this lady did fraud, but it's
I'm
it's
not.
based on
I don't
stuff
have
like she
myself
closed her
convinced
phone.
because it's what happened. 100%, Jeff. It's what happened. Like, I cannot make this shit up, dude. I'm telling you,
I haven't
this is
heard
what happened.
anything that sounds like evidence yet.
How is it not evidence, Jeff? She has the woman's. She played dumb. Like, oh, I don't know how this
You don't
got
know
in.
if she was
She was
playing dumb.
broke.
She might not have known why
What do
that
you
card
mean?
was in
It
there.
was it was she was broke, like broke, and then all of a sudden she has money for fucking
But
seven
that's
pet
not evident. If
six.
somebody's broke and they get a credit card in the mail that's not in their name and they suddenly have a little bit of money, you don't know that it's because they used that card.
But
You're
but
making a big
but a
assumption
lie
there.
though but there was a lie there. Well, I borrowed $100 from a friend of mine, right?
Maybe she did.
Jeff, she spent way more than She spent almost $200. That's my point, and only had
That
$100. She goes,
doesn't
no,
mean she didn't get extra money from somewhere else. She
no,
might have
dude, I'm
borrowed a
telling
hundred
you,
bucks from a
she
friend
used
and
the.
had money
Jeff,
from
I live
somewhere
in a
else.
small fucking
None of
town.
that's evidence. If you went
Jeff,
into court and you said this is
Jeff,
what I have to prove the late, they would laugh you out of court. None of this is evidence. All you know is the lady ended up with some extra money and you don't know how she got it and you're assuming it's because of this credit card.
no, dude, I'm telling you for a fact. Dude,
That's
there's
not a
a,
fact though.
dude, if she has possession of the credit card, how is there a balance of fucking over $1,000 on it that she hasn't paid in 90 days? Like, explain that one. Like,
You
yes,
talk
if I didn't commit the crime, I didn't commit the crime of opening the
I
mail.
thought the credit
Like,
card was from
okay.
this lady in Florida.
No, it's in the lady's name. It didn't get mailed from the lady. Like, it come in the woman's name in this address. You get my point? It come the
No, I
bills.
don't.
Okay, that it says mail
A
in
credit
bank.
card bill went to this address of somebody who is not that person. That
This
doesn't mean that the lady's
what do
doing
you mean?
fraud.
The bill didn't come here. The credit
If
card
I
come
got
here.
a bill in the mail today from somebody that's not me with a credit card bill, that doesn't mean
But
I
Jeff,
did the fraud on
Jeff,
that credit card
listen to
just
me.
because it came to my
Jeff,
address.
Jeff, Jeff, Jeff. She got the brand new credit card in the mail. Brand new credit card in the mail. That's what I'm saying. That's when she went, oh, why is this here? I witnessed her open up the credit card, take it out of the packaging, take the fucking
You
strip on
have
the
no
back.
proof that she used that credit. You did not
Yes,
see her
dude, all
use
you
it.
gotta do,
You were not
Jeff,
with her when
all
she
you have to
used it.
do is look at the first transaction, which happened at Stewart's Grocery in Jonesport, Maine. I would guarantee, I would swear on my fucking kid's life, dude, until I'm blue in the fucking face, dude. I will give every last fucking nut I have. I will give fucking every last drop of fucking blood, dude. The first transaction, if you went back and Cliffy has that fucking store wired for fucking sound. And he saves the shit for over a year. That's his policy. Everything gets saved for a year, then it gets scrubbed. It's been within a year. I'm telling you, you could timestamp the first transaction to that thing if somebody really took this serious and at least looked into it. That's my point.
How do
This
you know
woman,
what the first transaction was? It was
because
on the
I
bill?
because I was with her when she got the card, right? This is what I'm saying. She was broke. She got the card, right? She was on her phone, opened the fucking card up. We went in, smoked the fucking joint. She was on her fucking phone. Next thing I know, she's like, hey, I got $100. Well, she didn't even say $100. She goes, hey, I got some money. Will you take me to the store? Because whatever.
And
So
you
I was like,
assumed
yeah.
the money came off this credit
So
card, but you didn't actually
listen,
see her use the card.
listen. And then, so then this is what, after she bought everything, right? I go, I thought you were broke. Where'd you get the money from? Right? She goes, well, I borrowed $100. And then I'm thinking, bitch, you just bought 7 packs of cigarettes, filled your fucking car, and you bought yourself a bottle of,
But none of
like
that's
not even a
evidence.
small bottle, a half gallon of fucking oil.
Unless you saw her put it on the card, it's not evidence.
Jeff, I watched. The circumstantial evidence is there. All you got to do is a law enforcement needs to take that and go be like, hey, do you have, do you have video for this day? Like all you got to do, the credit card. All you got to do is look into it. Hey, does this woman live at this address? Has she ever lived there? Why would there be a credit card here? Like you know what I mean? Like none of the whole point is the fucking credit card. The woman's using it illicitly, and I
You
guarantee it.
don't know that.
But I do, Jeff. I do. Like, I know for a fact.
I'm not hearing the fact yet.
Because
You've
I
never
watched
seen
her
her use
use
it.
it, Jeff. That's what I'm saying. She was in the fucking store. She had the card. She opened it. She went into the store. Like, she had no fucking money. But I watched her use this fucking card. This is why I asked her where she
Where
get
what
the.
did you see her do with the card? Because you said you didn't see her use the card. So now you saw her
What
actually
do you
use the card.
mean? She used it at Stewart's. Is what I'm trying to say. It's like
You saw her use it at Stewart's, or you
she
getting that
walked
from
in
the
with the
bill? I don't know, Spike. This is wild.
What do you mean?
I feel like I'm doing drama court for somebody that's not even in the panelverse and not getting paid for it.
No, I'm telling you, Jeff. I swear, I swear, dude. I promise you, this fucking woman's a fucking Black Widow. I'm telling you, she preys on the fucking and don't say there's not people out there like that. And don't say people don't warn people about shit that people say, oh, that, well, you have no proof, and then it comes out that it's true. Like, I'm telling you,
How did
I
we end
don't
up
come up.
talking about this?
I don't know. I figured some. I don't know. I because just it popped in my head about the fraud part. That pretty much you can commit fraud, and it doesn't matter as long as you yourself, like your person you're stealing their identity, doesn't find the fuck out. As long as you pay the fuck bills and shit, you're not committing a crime.
Yeah,
But as
but you
long
don't know that that's what's happening.
Yes, I do, Jeff. The bill.
No,
I
you
opened up
don't.
the fuck. I mean, I had to break the fucking law to find out, but I opened up the fucking bill and it says your account has been sold off for lack of payment in 90
That
days or
doesn't
whatever.
mean this lady did it.
What do you mean? Marilyn Crane does not live at my address and has never lived in the same. Has never lived here. So who
That
else would be
doesn't mean
receiving
this
the bill?
lady did it just because you got a mail from some
What do
random
you
person
mean?
named
I
Marilyn.
watched her get the fucking credit card, open it, and then all of a sudden she has money to buy, fill a gas tank, fucking buy 7 packs of cigarettes, buy booze, buy snacks. How the fuck does that work, Jeff? You go from all of a sudden trying to come up with a story to cover your ass because there
Yeah,
was an oh
do
shit
we have any
incident.
true crimer in the true crime community that can get on this?
I'm telling you.
I'm hearing a lot of holes and a lot of circumstantial evidence and a strong desire to want something to be true because of personal feelings about this person.
Uh, I did not fuck her, Vinny, just to let you know. She was fucking 50 fucking some years old, and her own words, she has herpes. So, no. No, thank you.
Is it Marilyn Crane?
Yes, Marilyn
Like
D.
the
Crane.
bird?
Marilyn D. Crane.
Crane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not moving to Maine. There's no way. These neighbors are way too. This is worse than
No,
Gladys
she's not even
Kravitz.
from Maine. That's the point.
Is
Oh,
that part of this? You have a
and she
bias
had, listen,
against.
listen, she had a Nebraska driver's license with a car registered in
I think
Maryland.
you don't like this lady, and I think everything else follows from the
Jeff,
fact that you
Jeff,
don't
I
like
had
this
not
lady.
an issue with this lady until she started fucking with my fucking family and shit, and then this shit. Like, I see all this shit and the red flags. Like, dude, there's a fucking woman up here that's, she's almost 80 years old that she's befriended that has fucking, like, stage 4 fucking cancer, and all of a sudden she's, like, best friends with this fucking woman up there taking care of her every fucking day. But yet, but this woman is like disappeared and like you don't it's just a very I'm just saying
Well,
that
you
one's a
opened
little
this
different.
can of drama, so Vinny's adding to the stew. He said she was in your home.
Yeah, she was in the home. She come in and stole eggs out of my fridge when nobody was home. So and me and my wife was just kind of like what the fuck.
Did you have your door locked?
No, because we fucking
It's like,
don't lock our doors around
no,
here.
that's crazy. But lock my door. No.
Fuck, man. I live in the fucking country. Why the fuck would I think my fucking neighbor would come and steal
Why
eggs
would
out
I
my fridge?
lock my door when I live next to this lady that I can't stand and I think is doing fraud?
Well, at the time, I didn't fucking think it was all this shit that started to add up. It was like the eggs, and then the credit card thing, and then then she started complaining about cats and dogs and
And now
fucking
you're ready to see her as a fraudster.
raccoons and fucking. It's just like, what the fuck are you talking
She's
about,
more persecuted than Donald Trump.
dude? I'm telling you, Jeff, Jeff. If you can't see if you can't see the fucking and connect the dots, like I understand it's all
That's
circumstantial
exactly what
evidence.
I think is. I
I
think some
understand
dots are
it's
being
all
connected, but I
circumstantial
don't think you
evidence.
have all the dots.
But I trust me, the state of Florida likes to bring fucking cases for a lot less bullshit. So,
I don't
so
know what it
uh,
is.
fucking
It's
Massachusetts lately.
it's a true
I'm,
crime episode.
dude, I'm telling you, dude, it almost turned into a fucking movie like that. Fuck, why the hell's
So
nobody
if
come
you
up
had
here?
never opened that envelope, none of this would have happened.
What do you mean? What envelope?
The mail you opened illegally.
No, that I didn't open that till today to get the credit card to get the fucking credit card company's phone number, Capital One, like because I figured, and then that's when I
You
seen
can
what it
find
was.
that on the internet. You don't need to open an
Well,
envelope
I
to
know,
get
but
the
I
number to
figured I
Capital
would
One.
need. I figured I would need a fucking account number or something like that. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like I've tried to return this fucking mail, and the stupid mailman keeps fucking leaving it in the mailbox. Like I took it back to the post office, and the stupid motherfuckers still brought it back here. When I'm like, Marilyn Crane does not live here.
Just write it on the envelope, not
I
at this
well,
address.
well, they got the sticker on it. That's
No,
supposed
we
to
don't.
fuck.
Well, it's
So I mean, I technically yes, I committed the crime. But what I'm trying to say is, by me opening that piece of fucking paper, right, that envelope, that's confirmed my suspicions that one, she's not paying the bill.
how did
That's
that confirm your suspicion? I'm not making the connection.
because the woman has moved. The woman has moved in so many different places. I can see moving 15, 20 places, maybe
But
one
what does
place a
that have to
year,
do with the
but
credit
not
card
moving
bill
two, three
itself?
places. What do you
I'm gonna
mean?
need a murder board for this.
Jeff, Jeff, she has a copy of this 93, 94 year old woman's ID and social security number on her phone. Okay? She opened up the only way that card would be here, right? Is two options, right? Is if Marilyn said, hey, open up an account in my name, but you got to pay it,
Maybe
right?
she's related to her.
That is possible.
And
That's
Vinny, it
possible.
apparently she didn't
Two,
break in. She walked in through the open front door.
well, I mean, it's still closed. I mean, if you knock on a door or you just help walk in somebody's house unannounced and unwelcome, that's still technically
Did you sleep with
it's
her at all? Is that part
no,
of this?
no,
Okay.
never, never, never,
Because
never.
Vinny's a detective, remember?
Well, I don't give a fuck. I'm telling you, it never happened. But what I am telling you is this woman stole seriously, 100 without a shadow of a doubt. Opened up a credit card in this woman because she figured either she knows the woman's dead and she figured, they ain't gonna find out, or two, she fucking
Maybe
just
she
doesn't
knows the
care.
lady. Maybe it's a
She's been doing.
relative.
She could have been doing it for so long that it's just. But even if it's a relative, is it any right? Any Either way, what I'm trying to tell you is the bill didn't get paid. It's been sold off because of delinquents of payment, which I said in the first place. She opened up this account, maxed it out, and decided not to use it. So
That's your
and
theory
and
of what happened.
and and also it just so happened that she works at my where my wife works. She come in there one day and she dropped uh her wallet on the counter, like spilled the contents out. And the other co-worker of my wife noticed that she had three separate cards with three separate names on them. Just one of them being the Maryland card. Just saying. Like there is shit out there. Like she
Oh,
also
you
claimed.
left that part out. Somebody actually witnessed that she had this card in her possession from this other lady.
I mean, I witnessed the card in her possession. Like, you know what I mean? I witnessed her open the fucking card up. I witnessed her going from, oh, I'm broke and have no money to, hey, I borrowed $100 to buying two
I
hundred
can't
dollars
believe
worth of,
I've spent
like,
more time on this than on the albums we were supposed to review.
well, I know, but I'm
What
just
did
saying, like,
Capital One tell you when you called?
so essentially, Capital One was like, well, do you have Marilyn Crane's social security number so we can look up her profile? I go, no, I don't have a social security number
Did
because,
you call the fraud department? Because the fraud
yes,
department
yes, I
works
did. And
differently.
they're like, well, can you prove that she's dead and or that do you have so we can look up the woman? Ultimately, they couldn't look
Well,
up they couldn't look up the account that I had in question
what did
because I
you
didn't have
tell?
the social
What did
security
you
number.
tell them when you called? That she
I
was
told
dead?
no, I told them that the woman was 94, 93, 94 years old.
But
said
how do
no.
you know?
What do you mean?
How do
How
you
do I
know how
know?
old this woman is?
Because
This is an envelope. You got an envelope in your mail, not
okay.
addressed to you. That's all you know, right?
No, Jeff, you're
I'm
only
telling you, I
focusing
need a
on
murder
you're
board
only focusing on me opening the envelope today.
because
We're
that
talking
seems
about
to be the
we're
evidence
talking
in your
about
mind.
no. What do you mean?
That
The evidence
confirms
just
everything.
no. That confirmed to me. I mean, obviously, it's not real. The real evidence is
That's
the
what
fact that
prompted
she
you to
has.
call Capital One, right? This letter you got that you opened.
No, no. I've been wanting to. I've been wanting to, and I've been seeing it in the mailbox because the wife's been telling me, just let it go, let it go. You can't do. The cops told you unless the woman reports it or Capital One. I go, that's the point. So how's Capital One gonna know unless you fucking tell Capital One? So that was so. Then when I called Capital One, they were like, well, do you have this woman's phone number and or address? I mean, and or social security number. I go, no. I go, because if I had this woman's real information, that would be suspect. I go, I shouldn't be able to give you that information because I have no ties
Well,
to
how do
you.
you know how old she is then? If you don't
Because
have her
the
information, you
fucking,
can't
the
tell how
woman
old someone
showed
is
me her
just from a name
ID.
on an envelope.
The woman showed me her fucking ID. She was born in fucking,
So you do have you do know all that stuff that you told the Capital One. How am I supposed to know? You did know.
but I don't know the fucking social security number. But I did take note by the year the woman was fucking born, and it put her to. It said she was born in fucking 30, so 30 whatever. So it
So when
fucking
this lady showed you on her phone this woman's ID, you noticed how old she was, and you
yeah. I know.
remembered.
I noticed the fucking date because I was like, "What the fuck,
Like I've got to admit, this is a kind of a crazy story.
dude?" I'm telling you, dude. I don't come up with bullshit like that. Like I'm telling you, and my
Moose,
story
I
will
don't
never
know. I'm
change.
starting to
Look,
wonder
people
about
that
Maine.
lie, the facts of the fucking details will fucking change. I'm telling you, this woman was broke, had no fucking money at all. Pulled up to the mailbox with this woman months ago. Opened up the mailbox. Had a fucking brand new credit card in Marilyn D. Crane's name at 675. Blah 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 blah. Right? Shit. See, almost fucked up. Ah. Anyways, blah 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 blah. When that happened, the damn she goes, huh? Weird. This is the woman here. I don't know why. She lives in Florida. I don't know why. And she showed me it. And then she went, I think she went to zoom in on the photo of the woman and she wind up flipping. That's when she flipped over to the social
Yeah, that
security
that
check.
that does. I've been around a lot of con artists.
And
No,
then literally
that doesn't
15
track with
minutes.
the psychology of any con artist that I know.
What do you mean? Literally 15 minutes later, we're at the fucking store, right? She messages me and says, "Hey, let's go to the store." And 15 minutes later, we're at the fucking store, and she bought. That's what I said. That's when she bought all this shit.
They
Yeah,
would not show you the evidence that they're
yeah,
using to commit identity
yeah. I'm
theft.
telling you, this fucking woman is batshit crazy. She also told me that she fucking was the sole survivor of a fucking Apache fucking Black Hawk fucking helicopter crash overseas, right?
Oh God.
The sole survivor. But yet, dude, I've asked her for pictures of her in when she was in uniform. I've asked her for fucking like I go, whoa, I go, you must have some pretty bad injuries. Nope, I walked away unscathed. I go, so you're telling? She goes, the crew of six, five, the other five crewmen died, and I walked away unscathed. I go, how does that even seem possible? And then you go and do, because my cousin is in the fucking Navy and shit. So like he can look up fucking like people and shit like that. He knows he's one of them people that can do it, administrative type person. So he fucking so I was like, hey, is there any record of this woman being in a helicopter crash, right? And he was like, well, what's her name? And I told him what her name was and what her date of birth was and where she supposedly served and what her occupation was. And he goes, dude, there's not a fucking listing at all remotely close to that in here.
I
Just
see
saying.
a whole Netflix series spinning out of
Dude, I'm
this.
telling you, this woman's a fucking dude. You don't live in over 40 places in fucking 20 years. You just don't
I
do it.
have. I've had over 40 addresses in my lifetime since I left Louisiana as an adult in my mid 20s. I was a nomad. I
Yeah,
bebopped all around the country: Vegas, California, New Orleans,
yeah, but not
Seattle.
supposedly rape. But yet, not supposedly rape. That's another thing. Her grown adult children are not allowed to talk to her. Like I'm dead
Leggy, you
serious.
really don't like this woman, I could tell.
Dude, I'm not even Jeff, it has nothing to do with not liking. This
Ah,
is all like there's all kinds of red flags. Like why is your grown children not allowed to talk to you? Like she
but
let me
but
read this
red flags are not
conversation.
evidence.
Dude, she let me read this conversation one time and it was like with her friend it was with her friend that walked into it, right? Like this girl supposedly dude, I don't even fucking know. Like, she was like, I don't even know. I don't even know if she realized you still existed or something like that. And like, I didn't know that. But it's like this woman's supposed to be 26 years old, but yet she's telling people, well, I don't know if they checked my phone, so I can't respond to her. That's why I ignore her. I'm thinking, well, that's a fucking very weird thing to say to somebody. Why You know what I mean? Why can't you respond at 20, her children are supposed to be 26 and 27 years old, so why can't they respond to you? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying there's all kinds of weird red flags. Like you at like about the Navy shit. Like I've showed her fucking when she was like, "Oh, you were in the Air Force." Like I showed her all my shit that I had from when I was in the Air Force. But she never could do that with the Navy shit. Like you get my point. Being a veteran and shit like that, you can kind of pick up on bullshit stories from other vets. You
Right, but
really
that's
can.
different than evidence.
But I'm telling you, if she's bullshitting on simple shit like that and trying to lie about helicopter crashes, the only thing I believe from this woman about her,
You really want to get this woman on something. She's
dude,
like
I'm
Al
telling you,
Capone.
I believe this woman has some traumatic experience because I believe that when she said she was sexually assaulted and the things that happened, that I do believe her when she said that happened in the Navy because like I'm not saying she wasn't in the Navy. I just feel like she wasn't in a helicopter crash
I am
because
waiting for Alan
it's
Funt to
just
jump out from behind a plant and tell me that I'm
because
on candid camera.
it's funny because she talks about 97 and shit, right? A lot. And San Diego and Iceland. She has this fascination with Iceland. But once again, can't ever show any pictures of her in Iceland. But yet,
Well, I wish you had put this amount of effort into the album.
well, I told you it was hard for me to get into it. It was
Well,
really hard.
we need a. I
But
would
like,
pick
I'm
I
being
would pick
serious
a
though. Like,
Michael
I'm not
Gira
trying to
album
be
over this lady's life
like,
any
dude. I'm
day to
just
get into.
telling you, I'm not fucking lying. I'm not fucking making this bullshit up. Like, yes, I'm not a cop, and it's not fucking. I don't have no. I mean, I've seen all the hard evidence. I mean, unless I
No,
actually
you.
took pictures of all this shit and did all the bad shit myself, like kind of break laws in order to do it. Like,
I know it's all live on YouTube.
well, I mean, I don't give a fuck. I mean, whatever. I opened up a fucking bill of the lady that doesn't even fucking live here and's never lived here. Big fucking deal.
Well, does anybody else want to come up? It's still an open panel. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to take this one in episodes. I might even be able to find a way to monetize it.
Yeah. Well, it's one of them things where you think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, and I mean,
I
I
don't
feel
think you're
like there's
crazy
enough
at all.
there.
I just
I
don't
feel
think
like there's enough
you
there
have
to at
all the
least
dots. I think you're
there's
making a
enough
lot of
suspicion there.
inferences.
You know what I mean? I feel like reasonable, articulate suspicion is there.
Yeah, but
You
that's
know
not
what I?
evidence. Like
What do you
cops
mean?
need more than that, judges need more
No,
than that,
no.
and
There's been
credit
lots
card
of crimes
companies need more
solved
than
just
that.
on gut
Yeah, but
instinct
that
alone.
that's not going to work for the people you're trying to reach out to. They need
Well,
more
I
than
know
that.
because I need this woman's personal information in order to.
Oh, did you drop out?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Yes, were drugs involved at any point in this story? You said y'all smoke weed together.
Yeah, well, we did. Not no more.
Ren, anything. Literally anything. Almost anything.
What?
She's asking what's up for discussion.
Yeah, anything. I mean, I don't really give a fuck. But, but I'm being serious when I say like I'm convinced, and there's enough evidence there, and I don't give a fuck what
I
anybody says.
believe you're convinced. I believe you've convinced yourself. But I believe you also had motivation to convince yourself. Okay, so yes, Maxwell Smart is living up to his name.
Fuck. Well, well, I mean, I don't know, Jeff. You take it for what it is, but this isn't the first time I've said it on a panel. And if you go back and listen, my details about this woman hasn't changed. Like,
I remember the egg story, but I didn't
dude,
know
I'm
it
telling you,
had
and people
layers
that
to it.
fucking lie and whatever, the basis of fucking stories don't fucking change, and details of events don't change. So, but I'm not
Yeah,
going
I'm not
nowhere.
saying
If
this
I
lady's not a
drop off,
liar.
I don't mean to drop off. But if I drop off,
Okay, are you
I'll
out and about?
well, I'm heading out. Yeah, I gotta go
Okay,
pick up the wife from work. So,
all right. Well, we can wrap up too if you want. I don't think anybody else is coming up.
well, fuck. I figured somebody would.
I, yeah, me too. We got a lot of Gen Xers out there.
Well, whatever. Run with it, Vinny. Run with the fuck.
I mean, I'm not even a detective, and my sensors are going off.
What? What do you mean? Your senses are going off about what?
Yeah, we do need Marilyn on the panel. Like the same as Vinny. He's
Look,
not buying it
I don't
either.
know. All I know is
Oh, you're breaking it. You're roboting. I think you might be coming out of the zone.
what? Who's not there? But who didn't buy what? What?
I said Vinny's not buying it either, and he's an actual detective.
Well,
And I'm not a
well, look.
detective, and I'm having the same reaction. So as a official
How,
detective.
how, look, look, how
Uh
do you
oh.
not notice it on there? Why else do you have? How,
You
it's so
sound worse than
broke, right?
R2D2 right now.
Like the dentist does, right? What motive for doing it? All right, she was drunk, was broke, needed money. She had the means and the access to do it, right?
Yeah, but you
So
don't know
therefore,
where
she
the
applied for the card in the woman's name.
Leggy. Next time we
Why else
play
would she?
Clue,
But what's
I want you in the game because I want a good fighting chance.
what are you talking about, dude? I'm pretty good at putting two and two together and coming up with fucking four. So this ain't fucking new age math where two plus two equals fucking three or five. All right.
I think we lost him. He sounded like he was coming into his own anyway. All right, I had quite a day. I had a really long day. I did my thing with Joe. We tried to do albums, and then I had this. So I think I'm gonna go unwind. Tonight is Survivor and the Summit. I'm gonna be watching in the Discord. If you need an invite, hit me up at Gen X Jeff. That starts in about 3 hours my time, and that's what I plan for the rest of the night. And then I think I'll be back out tomorrow. Oh, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyways, very interesting conversation, but
Oh
no,
yeah.
I'm still the two plus two equals four, and this bitch is very much committed fraud, and I don't care what nobody says, because you don't just a random fucking person that's 90 some years old that has no ties, and you're
You don't
whatever
know what
just
their ties are.
Jeff, I'm telling. I'm not saying that they don't have a tie together somehow, because obviously she has it. But what I'm
I mean,
trying to say
she
is,
had the lady's ID
she
on her
has
phone.
the
You
ID
don't have a
and
random
social
stranger's
security
ID on
number
your phone.
and social security number card,
Yeah.
like the
So that
card.
tells me right there it's probably not some random stranger. That there's not lack that there is a tie. Okay. I think we lost him again. Did we lose you? Yep. Okay, we're gonna have to end on this cliffhanger and maybe pick it up. We're gonna do another album next week. I didn't realize it when we started this series, but it's actually album battles. I was trying to pick an album that featured that time period of Gen X, but it's actually I have to pick an album that's better than the album that he's recommending. So I think we're gonna do Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, which leaves me with quite a range to choose from. The Cure, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, that was their big breakthrough album. Sonic Youth Sister, that's when they started their trajectory. They went from there to Daydream Nation to Goo. Don't forget Chaconi Youth, also in the mix. One of their best works, I think. Dinosaur Jr.'s first real album, which kind of set the standard for their sound after that, and a lot of the grunge sound. And Swans, believe it or not, that's when their first really good album came out too. So I'm probably gonna pick one of those four. Oh wait, we have him back. Welcome back.
Oh, back. Welcome back. Back
Welcome
again.
back.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. Just
Okay, just make sure you can hear me. Uh, anyways, but yes. I guess whatever. But it is what it is.
so next week we're doing Appetite for Destruction,
Yeah.
and
Let's
then
do let's
whatever
do
album
that.
I pick. I was
Yeah.
never really into Depeche, so I don't know if I'll. It was that '87 too. Yep. Which one? Which songs were that? Oh, Strange Love. Yeah. Yeah, I
I
was
mean,
around for that. My
uh,
friends were more into Depeche than I was, but I guess that's a candidate. I'm gonna listen to Appetite for Destruction first, and then I'm gonna select which album I think can beat it. The problem with the Cure album is it's a double album, and then they had like a whole extra side of just B sides that supplement it. Um, so I'll probably pick that one anyway, or maybe oh, and the Pixies I forgot too. Their EP came out that year. Their 8 song EP, but still it packs quite a punch. I think I could beat him with just the Pixies EP. So I'll listen to Appetite for Destruction and I will decide from there which album I want to put up against it. So look for that next week and we'll do some more Gen X talk. 87 was about the year that wokeness started to take off in the academies. That's Kimberly Crenshaw and intersectionality. There was that other lady, what was her name? White hair, glasses. Pat somebody. Did Sign of the Times come? Was Faith? Well, I'm definitely not going to pick Faith, but yep, Faith. Those are all good candidates. That gives me a lot to work with. I was trying to pick something more in my genre, like alternative rock, grunge, underground type stuff. Yeah, it really was. 87 was the peak. That was the beginning of the crest of, I'd say like 87 to 91 when Nevermind came out, Kurt Cobain. That was the when grunge and the underground and alternative rock was cresting. All of the best albums came out. In fact, I'm very fond of saying that Nirvana, Nevermind came at the tail end of a movement, and that movement started about 86, peaked to start to crest about 87. Because 86 was when MTV's 120 Minutes launched in March, and that was the same time as Sonic Youth's Evil album came out, and that's really kind of what started the shift in sound. And then they picked up Dinosaur Jr. as a protege. They toured with Kurt Cobain. That's when Swans really kicked their music up to, I think, its modern level, its modern sound with Children of God. Still one of their best albums. But I may not pull a Swans album because he didn't do so well with the Michael Gira album to begin with. So we might go for something more rocking, like Pixies or maybe Dinosaur Jr. Sonic Youth Sister is excellent. It's the album I recommend people start with if they're new to Sonic Youth. But you have to take a couple of tracks off. You can't. The full album itself is a little uneven. There's really only about 8 of the 10 tracks that I would recommend including in the album. One of them's a cover and one of them's just an average filler song. But if you take those two out, the rest of the album, excellent, excellent, and it sets the standard for all of Sonic Youth's work afterwards. But I'm leaning toward the Pixies though, just for the sheer rock element. But I'm gonna go listen to Appetite for Destruction and decide if I think Pixies can beat it. If not, I might have to bust out the Cure or a Dinosaur Jr. Okay, I'm gonna go get ready for Survivor in a few hours. I'll be in the Discord and probably won't come on after that because it's several hours of TV tonight. But I may. If not, I'll be here tomorrow for sure. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll try to do more music next time, and maybe I don't want to say less of this drama because the story was really quite interesting. But maybe I want to separate it from the music stream. Like Leggy might have to get his. We might have to do a whole separate series on just this lady and her eggs. All right, take care, everybody. My brain needs a break. I'm gonna go do some self care.